What's up guys, Causeway Giant here, and finally, Star Wars Episode 3.5 Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is out in cinemas. I can't believe this day has finally come. Like guys, I love Star Wars. Heck, I live Star Wars, just in case you couldn't tell. Like, it's literally my life force, so it's no surprise I was super hyped for this movie. Though let's be honest, who wasn't? I mean, come on, it's Star Wars. If you don't like it, how? Why even watching this video? Click this USS Enterprise and hyperspeed yourself right out of here, you Trekkie. Traitor! But anyway, if you're still watching this, then you must be a Star Wars fan, or you're just too lazy to click off the video. Either way, high five, fellow nerd. Nerd 5. So get ready for me nerding out like never before, because this is my review of Star Wars Episode 3.5 Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Let's go. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm putting in the obligatory spoiler alert, as this is going to be a spoilery spoiler review full of spoilerish spoilers. This review is dark and full of spoilers. So if you haven't watched the film yet, sucker! So if you haven't watched the film yet, then click off this video and crawl back into your hole of darkness and evil, you Trekkie scum. I'm sorry, I love you really. But if you're still hungry for some juicy Rogue One stuff, wow, did I really just say that? Damn. Then click this thumbnail. No, the other one. There we go, for me and my friend Niall's predictions of the film. I gotta say, I thought we did pretty well. Quite a lot of them came true. Wait, is that a spoiler? I don't care, I just want to talk about Star Wars with you guys, so spoiler alert done. Let's dive into the review. So guys, right off the bat, I've got to say that Star Wars Episode 3.5 Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is probably one of, if not my favourite Star Wars movie there is. Mainly due to the fact that it actually has wars in it. Yeah guys, this film is so different to the other ones, with a completely different tone and feel to it, that you're like, whoa, this is some intense stuff. Wait, was that a Stormtrooper? Oh yes, this is a Star Wars movie, I forgot. The dark tone throughout the film makes it so much more realistic than the other Star Wars films, which are like children's bedtime stories in comparison. And it really makes you feel like you're part of the gritty war that the characters are going through. Oh yes, no Skywalker destiny, I have the Force so I can do anything with no prior training whatsoever bantha fodder in this one. It's just plain old war, which I love. It's so nice to see a Star Wars movie that is actually about wars happening near stars. Yeah guys, the gritty warlike nature really supplements the narrative, and just in case any of you guys have been living under a rock for the past forever, then the basic gist of this film is that the Rebel Alliance have been alerted to the imminent weapons testing of a giant space station called the Death Star that has the power to destroy an entire planet. They form together a band of renegades to steal the plans of the Death Star so that they can destroy it before it destroys the planet. So pretty much the opening crawl to A New Hope. And obviously if you've watched the Star Wars movies, you would know that the rebels succeed and blow up the Death Star, resulting in a rewards ceremony that gives everyone a medal except for Chewie. Why? Just because he's a Wookiee. Don't you know a Wookiee can tear your arms off if it loses? The Rebel Alliance is spacist, so we know that they succeed. So what's the point of seeing this movie then? Oh, so many reasons, dear viewers. The first of which being the characters. Well, first of all, they all die. Yeah, all of them. Initially I was hit by this, but it makes sense because they're never referenced again, and it really does make you fear for them because of that looming uncertainty that any character could die at any minute, which they do. This movie is basically like the House Stark of the Star Wars franchise. What is really good about these characters, and the film in general, is that it shows the rebels not just to be a perfect bunch of Death Star destroying goody two-shoes, but actually is a military operation that often makes controversial decisions, and is made up of people who have had dark pasts. This makes the film feel far more realistic, and makes the characters so much more interesting, as we're used to a bunch of people that are angelic and super good at everything they do. Ray. Take the main protagonist, Jyn Erso, for example. After her parents were taken away from her, she had to take care of herself, and turn to a life of crime with offences including
forgery of imperial documents, possession of stolen property, aggravated assault, resisting arrest.
So she's not perfect. And by the way, Felicity Jones I thought gave a great performance. It's hard to make the audience care so much about a character that they've only known for one movie, but she pulled it off, and we're rooting for her throughout the film because she's a relatable character to the audience. Not like Rey. Alan Tudyk plays K-2SO, who I was really worried might either be a boring version of C-3PO or another sorry guys, I don't think I'm physically able to say his name, but you so know who I mean. But guys, K-2SO was hilarious. Every time he spoke, he got a laugh out of everyone in the audience I was in. I loved the first time we see him when Jyn runs straight into his arm and he just goes, "Congratulations, you're being rescued." So great, I love him. And Donnie Yen's character of a blind force worshipping monk called Chirrut Imwe was great too. He was so cool in those action sequences when he was beating all those stormtroopers up with a stick. He's basically the Daredevil of Star Wars. Mads Mikkelsen is in the movie too. He plays Jin's dad, Galen Erso, because he's in literally everything nowadays. But guys, my favourite character of them all was director Orson Krennic. Boy, was he cool. I love the Thrawn look he's got going on with the white Imperial officer outfit and the cape. Oh, anyone who wears a cape is automatically cool. Try and think of anyone who wears a cape that isn't cool. Go on, I challenge you. And he's so evil. Ben Mendelsohn really embodied the darkness of the film with Krennic when he kills Lyra, Jin's mum, and all of Galen's scientists on Edu. And I love that line when Lyra appears and he just goes, "Oh, Lyra is back from the dead, it's a miracle." Oh, he's so cool. What I really loved about Krennic compared to other Imperial officers is that he really takes things into his own hands and launches himself right into battle. And he gets shot twice in the film and survives, showing how sick of a character he is. I love how he has this massive rivalry with Tarkin, who we'll get to later, and his blind ambition to get promoted to the most high-ranking Imperial officer is a nice change from villains just being bad and wanting to do bad things because they're bad guys. He has this squad of death troopers which are just insanely cool. They're so intimidating, but what is interesting and almost unsettling is that they don't speak a word of English at all in the film. Instead, they communicate in this very static-like way that kind of reminded me of the probe droids in Empire Strikes Back. But in a more distorted way. I don't know, there's just something about that sound combined with the emotionless black helmets and costumes that genuinely freak me out, which is what they're supposed to do. I mean, they're called Death Troopers, for goodness sake. I actually think that the Death Troopers aren't actually humans at all. Their sheer height on Battlefront, along with their way of communicating, leads me to believe that there may be a kind of cybernetic organism, or maybe droids like General Grievous's Magna Guards. Unfortunately, like the rest of the characters, he does eventually meet his end after getting shot by Cassian and then looking up, seeing the Death Star rise over the horizon. Oh, what a shot. And then getting obliterated by its super laser. Such a fitting and ironic end considering how many years he spent developing it, and it was such a great shot. The super laser reflecting in his eyes. It was like that shot from Game of Thrones just before Lancel Lannister gets incinerated by the wildfire. He was such a cool character. I'm gonna miss him so much. Farewell, Orson Krennic, or Orson Srennic, or Orson Kronik. Wait, Orson Kronik? Kronik? Come on, man. Oh, and speaking of Battlefront, as a huge fan of the game, I've got to give the designers massive props for how they captured Rogue One in the Scarf DLC. Throughout the movie, I was like, oh, there's Jin's A180, and look, there's Krennic's DT-29, and Bodhi Rook, an Imperial pilot who defected to the Rebel Alliance, kind of like Finn, I suppose, gets killed by a sonic imploder, which was cool. Well, not cool. I mean, it's bad that he died, but like, cool that it was with a Scarf DLC weapon? Nah, there's no way I cannot sound sadistic saying that the death of one of the main characters was cool. And the infiltration game mode was really like the movie as well, where they had to open the shield gate to fly into Scarf, blow up the generator structure-ish things that I still don't know the name of, and then get the plans. I mean, it's kind of different because in the movie they go to that big tower on Scarf to get the plans, and in the Scarf DLC they're out in the open, but hey, it's close enough. And I'm glad they did the Death Troopers as Krennic's bodyguards too, because that's what it's like in the movie. And they had the U-Wings and the TIE Strikers like they were in the film, so well done, DICE. You get the Causeway Giant seal of approval. Sorry guys, I'm just obsessed with Battlefront. If you want to hear me go through the Scarf DLC in real depth, click up here for my first impressions of the DLC. This is not a sponsored review, so let's get back to the film. Some of the characters like Baze Malbus and Cassian Andor were slightly underwhelming compared to others. I still liked them. I thought Baze was awesome in those battle scenes, and when he just mows down those stormtroopers around Chirrut, and Chirrut goes, "You could have shot me," and Baze is like, "You're welcome." Ah, classic Star Wars sarcasm. I did think the friendship between him and Chirrut was kind of glossed over, but it didn't bother me too much because I loved the scenes that they were in together anyway. Cassian was okay, like he had his moments, but he wasn't the most compelling of characters, I suppose. I did, however, love the shot towards the end when Jin is hugging him as the shockwave from the Death Star super laser looms on the horizon, draws near, and then completely engulfs them both. It was really emotional. I may or may not have shed a tear, but it was a manly tear. However, Forrest Whitaker's character of Saw Gerrera was quite confusing for me. He was set up to be one of the main characters in the trailers, and from what people say about him in the movie, it sounds like he's going to be another awesome character in the battle scenes, but he doesn't really do anything. He just walked about, occasionally breathing out of that inhaler thing, and his voice kind of sounded like someone was stepping on his throat. He had this weird telepathic octopus pet thing. Like, what even was that? I still don't know if he was good or bad, because he fought the Empire but hates the Rebel Alliance, and he captured Cassian in the squad but then says to Jin to go with them and save the rebellion, even though he hates it, and But thankfully he gets killed off really quickly, which was good, because I was just so confused as to why he was there, other than just being someone from the Clone Wars, but he was my biggest problem with the film. But he dies quickly, so it's okay, I guess. If only they did the same thing with Jar Jar. Never mind.